See this seat right here? The rails pop through here.
Oh, wow.
See these pants right here? I was wearing these pants. They popped. They went through. They went through my pants, and then they pierced both sides of my balls.
My name's Brad McDonald. I'm the founder of Vital BMX. Before that, I was the founder of Ride BMX magazine. And before that, I was a photographer at Go magazine, a BMX magazine from the late 80s and into the early 90s. I think it went out of business at the end of 91. I'm here with Mat Hoffman, who to anyone watching this needs absolutely no introduction.
Yeah, Brad.
We are still somewhere in the coronavirus lockdown, so we're doing a video chat. And today we're going to look at a handful of photos that I shot of Matt in the early 90s, specifically 1991 to 1993. It was an incredible period in Matt's life, just as you'll see all the stuff that he had going on, aside from being, by far the top vert rider in the sport. He had just tons of other things going on, which we'll get into. How are you doing, Matt?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. It's been a good day. Started off with a morning session on my new vert ramp. So yeah, life's good.
Nice. Let's look at photo number 1 here. It is from a two-hip King of Vert contest at Thrasherland in Phoenix in January of 1991. So you would have just turned 19. And I think it's no exaggeration to say that vert contests at this point were pretty much just a battle for second place behind you in first place. You pulled your first 900 about 2 years prior to that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 89, right.
And so if this is Jan 91, I seem to think you were getting them pretty consistent at that point.
Yeah, but looking at this photo, what am I doing? Like, that spin is just so like what? How do you spin like that? I definitely
like so straight up and down.
Yeah, it's like so straight up and down, and how am I spinning? I remember this 900 because I remember doing it, going like, wait, I thought I knew how to do these, and like halfway in the spin, I'm definitely going to be waking up on the flat bottom. Someone's going to be waking me up in a minute, and then I think I know I didn't pull that. I don't think I pulled that, did I? But
I don't remember.
I mean, if I did. Like it was a sketchy pull, but yeah.
You were in sprocket jockey shows at this point, which
yeah,
I think a lot of people don't know about that. That you had a semi, a big rig that you bought with the half pipe on a trailer. You were driving around the country, booking shows at state fairs. How old were you when you bought your semi?
Yeah, I was just I was just thinking about that too. I was 17 and I didn't have my license, and I found a guy that had a 350 Cummins Peterbilt cab over on his farm, and I asked if I could buy it, and he said sure. So I went there with a cashier's check, gave him the cashier's check, got in the rig, and I was like, oh great, I don't know how to drive these things. But I didn't want to show the guy, I didn't want to bust myself that I didn't know how to drive it, so I just put it in first gear, and I was like, I'll just put it in first gear and get off the car, get out of his view, and then I'll figure out how to drive it. So I put it in first gear, and if you've ever driven a semi, it's like it has 4 gears, and you switch this thing up, and you go through 4 gears again, so it has 8 gears. So it's like the first gear, if you just floor it, you're going a mile, maybe 2 miles an hour. I'm with all the smoke coming out of the thing, just kind of looking, just barely move. I was like, dang, these things don't move, and I didn't. And then I finally got out of his sight, and so I was like, okay, I'll try to shift it. So I shifted it, and I didn't realize that you shift those big trucks without using the clutch either. You just use it through RPMs and shift up and go through. And so by the time I got home, I blew the clutch out and had to get that fixed. But yeah, there's so many stories with that truck, because we would drive it all around the country, and I didn't have a CDL, but Steve got a CDL, Steve Swope, and so we would kind of rig our logbooks a bit, and then when we go through the way stations, I tried to dodge way stations because you didn't have Google Earth or anything, or you didn't have maps or anything like that, or cell phones, or so you just had like a big map, and then you bought one that had all the way stations on it, so you just try to dodge all the way stations, and then but then sometimes they just sneak up on you, and that wasn't on the map, and then you'd pull over, and we looked like such a carnival ride that they just look at us, and it said not for hire on the side, but they would just make us pull over and show our logbooks, and of course they were messed up or something was wrong, and so like you're shut down. Or I was driving, and I would get busted. Now you have a license, and like, okay, you're shut down. You can't drive this anywhere. You got to get you have to get it towed, and there's no way we're going to get it towed. And but I realized if you wait there long enough, they shut the way stations down and they go home, and you can drive off. So that's basically how we got around the U.S. I even like tried to drive it through the Holland Tunnel once, but it was too high, and so they stopped me and they got all mad at me, and I backed up all the traffic, and they didn't even check my license. They were just so like frantic to get me out of it. They're like, "You're such an idiot!" Like they're just like cursing at me, and just like, and I don't blame
Trying
them.
to take it into New York City.
Yeah, trying to take So I end up going into New York City through the Brooklyn Bridge. I got through that way, and so we just driving around New York City, and like it was funny. I had like I had flames on the side, and 215s in it, that just bump in, and it was
15-inch subwoofers.
Yeah, subwoofers, so we just be like, just pumping EE, going through New York. It was pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's jump to the next photo.
All right.
So this is a little bit later in 1991, April 1991. It's at Mission Trails in San Diego. It was at another 2-hip contest. It was actually a 3-day contest that Wilkerson put together in different parts of San Diego. Dirt was on day 1. I believe vert was day 2, and I think street was day 3, if I'm remembering it right. So a year before this, I believe you pulled your first flip fakie on vert in mid-1990. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that was that was in France, right? In Paris.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I was like, Spike shot that photo, I remember. Yeah. All right.
So a year later you do this, and to my knowledge, aside from Jose Yanez, with toe clips and all that, this is the first time anyone did it on dirt, did like a legit flip that looks like what they look like today on dirt or a box jump or anything like that.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. So that's so. But I just I always kind of had a permanent effort flag on my back that or a cape. I guess I should say, like just like wanting just like that. Yeah. It's. What do I remember about this photo? It was. I remember I had to go get stitches afterwards. I remember that. I think
well, I have a slightly different memory of that. I remember after the contest, seeing you in the parking lot, giving yourself stitches.
Okay, maybe I did. Yeah, because I was giving. I mean, at that time in my life, I got stitches so often that I just like, and it was just such a pain to go hang out and like take 5 hours in a waiting room to get stitches. And my dad, he sold used medical equipment, so he had sterile needles and stitches and stuff, so I would just travel around with my own suture kit.
See, so, that blew me away on so many levels. One, that you were doing it. I'd never seen someone just give themselves stitches, especially, you're probably pretty dirty after a dirt jumping contest where you crashed a bunch. And then that you planned ahead for this. Like you're packing to go to a contest, and you're going down your checklist, and it's like stitches and needle just in case. Like, what is going on? Like, I remember just thinking, this is kind of weird. I was kind of creeped out. I just had to walk away.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting injured so much. It's like, I mean, injuries are like, they're almost as psychologically painful as they are physically, or they're more psychologically painful than they're physically painful. And when I was at that stage of my life, I saw my body injured so many times and so many just lacerations and stuff that the psychological pain was totally dead in my mind. And so I would just look at it and be like, I just, like, it's just a bike part. You know, I'd like, if I popped a tire, I'd change my tire. If I slice my leg open, I'd sew it up. You know? But
It still hurts though, doesn't it?
yeah. I mean, I remember the one time I mean that didn't really hurt that bad. And my shins, when I stitched my shins up, that never hurt because it was just like it was all scar tissue, and so I could barely feel that. But my leg, it didn't really hurt that bad. And but one time I was in Germany, and I remember doing a 900, and I had a full face on. But no, wait, was it 900? I think it was no, it was a double tail whip, I think, and I missed, and I went straight to my face, and my eye kind of came out of my helmet and just hit the ground and split it open. And someone, I didn't have sutures there, but someone had one in his car, and so I went there, and he stitched me up like in between my run, and that was pretty painful, like getting your eye stitched up and trying not to flinch, you know. But it was just, I was pouring blood so much I couldn't ride because it was like getting in my eyes and stuff, and so
yeah, that makes it hard.
Yeah, so then I finished my run. Then I did a 900 like the next run, so I pulled that one, so that was cool. That was fun.
That's wild. So I don't know if you can see in the background the guy with his hands up. That's Vic Murphy.
Oh, is it? Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's his home place too, man. So that's yeah, that's like basically I was in his house, so that's an honor.
Yeah, kind of unusual seeing you in a dirt jumping contest, huh?
Yeah, I wish I rode dirt jumps more. It's so fun because it really is kind of that same rhythm of vert ramps where you have to there's a rhythm to it, you know. It's like that's what it's all about, and that's why you see like people that ride dirt jumps, when they get on a vert ramp they can just blast like the vert riders, like, you know, Joe Rich or like Hucker, you know. It's like they never ride vert, but they're just natural because it's real similar, I think.
Yeah. Let's jump to the next photo.
Oh man. Yeah, it took me a while to like kind of remember what this photo was and where it was and stuff, but that was Wilkerson's house for a little bit.
Yep, not the one everyone knows, the Enchanted ramp, but it's the place he moved to afterward in Lemon Grove. So I think I'm remembering it right that this was the day after the dirt jump contest. Did he do them all back to back to back, all 3 days?
Yeah, right. Okay. Yep, I remember this now.
So this was part of that contest weekend.
Yeah.
Nobody really does this trick anymore, huh? I mean, you're high.
Yeah, I love that trick because it
8 feet off the deck.
Yeah, I mean, I jumped on trampolines my whole life, so I could do flips and like I could do double flips and you know, like full twisting flips and stuff. So it's kind of I think that kind of helped me like with 900s and stuff like that, and because it gave me awareness like whenever I'm spinning and stuff. So then whenever I wanted, well, first when I thought about this trick, which I learned later, I wanted to do a flip with my bike and land on the deck, but I couldn't figure out how to do that. So I was like, I'll just do a flip off my bike and land on my feet. And so it's fun because it was like you could land and just like stick it like you're a gymnast, and like like it made me feel but yeah, like, but the well, this is kind of a memory totally not about this at all, but I remember I was staying at Wilkerson's house at the time. I didn't get a hotel, and he had this girl staying with him, and she was a stripper, and she asked me if I would be a bodyguard for her at she was doing like a someone's birthday party or something. I was like, awkward, but okay. And so I went there and I realized the men are the ones that really need the bodyguard, and so I was like, I just kind of left.
Next photo. So again, I think this was the next day of the contest.
Oh, next photo. Okay, yeah, right.
This was in La Jolla, which is part of San Diego.
Yeah.
You're in a street contest, which was kind of unusual for you at that point, wasn't it?
Well, you know, I was really into street at that time because I mean, there wasn't really any street contests really. But I mean, I don't know, there's maybe Wilkeson was the first one to put like a street contest, Meet the Streets, right? So this was maybe the second or third one he ever did. Do you know? I don't know.
I don't know. That sounds reasonable. One,
yeah. So yeah, because I was doing handrails a lot. I loved handrails. I was really infatuated with the whole idea of street, because it was just like, no, it was brand new. It's like anything was possible. It was like, you didn't know, like, it was just like a totally open book. But
you mentioned handrails a minute ago. So 1991 is when Head First came out, and that was a massive video, just really kind of a landmark thing. It seemed like it really cemented your reputation. People who maybe only seen you in photos, to just see that video that just seemed to put everything together, showed your whole vert ability, but then the street side of things. That was a mid 1991, late 1991 when that came out. Do you remember?
Yeah, I think so. That's, at least we filmed it through 91. I remember.
Yeah.
So I forget exactly when it came out, but yeah, and that was like, that was a era that people didn't really make videos, so it wasn't
Right.
so it was just kind of one of the first time that, luckily I just was good friends with Eddie, and Eddie was back then it was just so technical how you made a video. There was no digital. It was just like you had to have two tape decks and had to like cut them, at the same time, like push, record, pause, record, and if you messed one thing up, you had to start over, and then not to mention how to do the audio. And so it was such a technical thing that I was just lucky that I was friends with someone that knew how to document it.
Yeah. What stands out to me about that video, or one of the things, is it seemed like it was one of the first videos that had good production quality, but was also, you could tell it was done by writers, by people who knew what to include. It wasn't kind of a corny, overproduced looking video, but it also wasn't. Well, it wasn't.
We had a contest. It was like, who could have a worst joke?
But it wasn't Freestyle's Raddest Tricks. It wasn't like that. It had a much more core feel to it. But it was also really well done. It really, that just seemed to set the bar. And obviously, your writing it made a massive difference too.
Yeah,
that was cool. All right, let's look at the next one.
Oh,
so this is late 1991. This is the last photo I have of you on Haro. I shot this one for when I was working at Go before they went under. So how did this come about, and why did you want to do it?
Yeah, well, there's so many stories in this one. Let me think here. I remember the night before I went to an S&M club with Spike. that was there was a lot of stories I could go in on that one, but I'll spare this and just try to do more writing related. But yeah, they actually wanted me to do a backflip over that, and now it would have been easier than doing the 360 over it, but I just wasn't comfortable with like I hadn't really done a backflip, like a big backflip like that, and I just wasn't doing flips that often. I think maybe the last one I probably did on a box jump was at that last photo we saw, but yeah, so I was like, I just did 360 instead. But this was a thing called Stunt Masters. It was a stunt show, and the Johnny Airtime was hosting it, and I was staying at his house, and he would do these stunts to where he would calculate it, and he just really made me realize how important physics and stunts are, like how you can kind of use physics as your crash test dummy before you actually throw yourself in the middle of it. And because he would do, here's an example. He would hit a jump 180 feet, but he would have a pickup truck driving 80 miles an hour, and he'd calculate it to where he would jump 180 feet while the pickup truck's driving 80 miles an hour, and they would end up, and he would land in the back of the pickup truck. Like, I was just like, how is that possible? And he would just like calculate it out for me, and he'd show me the physics of it, and I'd be like, wait, I've got this idea. And my idea was, I'm going to build this like 10-foot vert ramp, and then I'm going to have this other vert ramp, and I'm going to have it 10 feet step down. So I'm going to do a 10-foot air out of this vert ramp, and I'm going to bomb drop 20 feet into this other vert ramp, so I can do a 20-foot air. He was like, yeah, I don't, you G out, you know, and they showed me the calculations, like you wouldn't be able to hold yourself up when you're landing into that other tranny because it's so tight. I was like, and so we started talking about it, and then that's whenever he's like, you could do like a 20-foot ramp, and he showed me the calculations of how I could hit it at like 60 miles an hour, and like he showed me like on the ramps I was riding, I was hitting at 30 miles an hour, and it was giving me like 2.5 G's going up, and it would give me like a vertical speed of like 10 miles an hour or something. And I don't remember precisely, but then he showed like if I had a 20-foot transition and hit it at 60 miles an hour, I'd have the same G's, and it would give me a vertical speed of 18 miles an hour, and it would put you 20 feet above your 18 feet or whatever. And I was like, you know, I was like,
you're like, this.
I went home and I went home and I didn't have any money at the time, so I had this show that I was doing, and I did the show in Indianapolis State Fair with my semi truck. Drove my semi truck out there. Tony Hawk did the show with me, and Dennis McCoy, because I remember Dennis crashed on a bar spin 540 and knocked himself out, and he kept like at the hospital, he kept doing that thing where he's like, "What'd I do?" And I was like, and I'd have to tell him, and every time I'd tell him what he did, he's like, wait, do you do bar spin 540s? I'm like, no. He's like, I'm the Condor. You're not the Condor. I'm the Condor. And it was like the same thing. And then like 5 minutes later, hey, what'd I do? What'd I crash on? I'm like, crashed on a bar spin 540. He's like, wait, do you do bar spin 540s? I'm like, nope. He's like, wait, and he just like, it was pretty funny, but anyway,
I'm gonna write this all down.
Yeah, and so then I made $7,000 on this on these shows that I produced for like a week or something, and so I'm driving home, and I just changed my semi truck from being 2 axles in the back with just regular suspensions, to like to 1 axle with air ride suspensions on it. But I guess the person that did it didn't do it right. So I'm driving the semi, and going about 70 miles an hour, and then I hit a bump, and the semi breaks in half. And so I'm looking straight up at the sky like this, and I'm like, oh! So I'm like trying to drive it out, like turn, like as I'm slowing down, because it's just if you know about a semi truck, it has 2 gas tanks, and they hold 350 gallons of diesel. And so I'm just dragging the gas tanks to a stop, pulling it over to the side. I get over to the side, but then once I get over to the side, it drags holes in the gas tanks, and so all the gas spills out and goes down. And I'm right on this big ravine that goes down into this area of like the highway that like cops came out and like and they'd bring all these big camp-on things. I had to like get all the oil and stuff up off the ground with, and it cost me $7,000 to fix it all up. So I was totally out of money, and I was just bummed. And then I got back, and the person that did the work closed his business down, and I guess he heard that what happened, and so I never heard from that guy. But then I got home, and I was just like, man, how am I going to build this ramp? And so then Thorne's like, hey, I work at a lumber yard, and the guy that does all the loads all the trucks and stuff wants a Condor. And I was like, oh yeah. And so I brought up there, gave him a Condor. He loaded it up with plywood. I drove home, and then that's what I think I sacrificed my spleen for. It's just that kind of to pay back my karma for stealing all that wood. But
that's funny.
But yeah, so that even though that has nothing to do with this photo, that photo is what really kind of, this moment of my life is what gave me the idea and the ability to create a gigantic ramp and hit it at 60 miles an hour and do big airs, and figure it out and really educate myself on how to figure things out with physics and not just like the F it flag.
One of my memories of this event is so mundane, especially compared to yours. It was the first shoot I had been on for like TV or movies, and I was like, wait, there's a truck with free food for everyone here? Like, this is incredible. Free food. I'd never had free food at a photo shoot before.
Yeah, and every time I would do this, like they wanted this total serious, like oh man, I've been training my whole life for this. I'm getting, and like they lit it on fire, and I just started laughing, and they had like a close up, and I'm just like, and I just started, I can't stop from just giggling as I'm like pedaling toward it, and they were I could tell they were just like, wait, that's not. This is like we're at a big stunt show, and you're supposed to be like all nervous and scared for your life, and I just was like laughing the whole time, and I landed it. And
Why were you laughing? Did you think this was kind of not that hard, or it was just kind of a reaction?
Like it was just comical to me. They lit three cars on fire, and I was going to jump them, and it just seemed hilarious. Like
I remember thinking that it was all kind of silly until they lit the flames, and I was like, "Whoa, this kind of got real."
Yeah, and then so yeah, totally. I was just laughing because I was like, "This isn't going to be any big deal." And then I jumped and it was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "I can't see anything," and the smoke, and like I couldn't even see where the ramp was when I landed, and it was so hot, and I was like, I landed and I was like, "Oh wait, that really was hard," you know? Like, just when I was coming at it, I just thought, I'm just like, no big deal. It's just fire, you know. I'm going to be over it in a second. But then once I guess it's good just to not think too much sometimes, but yeah.
Well, I remember like 30 seconds after you did it, I don't know if it was Johnny Airtime or one of the other stunt coordinators came over to you and was congratulating you and said, you know, most Hollywood stuntmen won't do fire. And you just kind of shrugged, like you didn't even know this. So it didn't faze you because it's like it didn't occur to you that this is something not to do. But they were super impressed.
Yeah, but they also really wanted me to do a backflip, and I wish I would have now, but because it would have been so much easier to spot and everything. But you know, I wasn't feeling it.
I'm sure it could be lined up if you don't want to do it.
Yeah, it'd be funny. Like 30 years later, it's just to light something else on fire.
So let's jump to the next one.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is December 1991.
What's that?
What's that?
I was saying this was a hard one to remember. Tell me about this.
This is at the ASR trade show, which for people who don't know, it was primarily like a surf and skate trade show. Yeah. So they would often have a half pipe setup where skaters would do demos.
Okay.
Down in San Diego. Uh-huh. And it was, I think John Pesci rode this with you. Yeah. So was this the public debut of Hoffman bikes?
Yeah, it might have. What was the, wait, does it have, yeah, it had December 91. Yeah, maybe so, because, I mean, I just got the prototypes from Lynn, who Lynn Caston, people that don't know, Lynn Caston, he was the founder of Redline, but also something that people don't know is he was the innovator of tubular forks and the crossbar on a handlebar, like things that you just take for granted that were there forever. He made forks that were tubular, and then went on to make just a single tubular fork, you know, that he did, the single leg, which scared the hell out of me. But
maybe chromoly 3-piece cranks as well.
Oh yeah, then yeah, chromoly 3-piece Redline flight cranks. He invented those, so he was like a huge. I mean, he was just a master engineer and just legend, brilliant person, you know. So I was like, if I'm gonna make bikes, I'm gonna go learn from this guy, and that's probably why, like, you know, and I bent the back ends a lot, and that's why I connected the back end so it's one solid structure with how I curved the Condor up. But you can kind of see a little bit of a Redline resemblance in the Condor too, I bet. And that's probably why, because I designed it with Lynn. But yeah, I was really lucky to work with him on that.
I mean, this could be a whole separate conversation, but you're going. I'm just curious what your motivation was. Say in 1991, you're on top of the world as a rider. You're making good money riding for Haro. You're 19, I think, at that point. You could have just kind of enjoyed all that. I mean, and that would have kept you busy, obviously. What made you want to start Hoffman Bikes and take on all those headaches?
Yeah, well, one thing is the big ramp. You know, like I wanted to ride the big ramp, and I was breaking Haros, and I was seeing, like, at that last dirt jump contest that we saw. You remember that one dude's fork just snapped off, and he looked like he broke his neck at that contest. He went straight face first. And I was just like, I just need to, if I'm going to try to push the sport to this, where I want to do it, to where I'm going to be jumping, 50 feet off the ground or 40 feet off the ground, I need something I can trust my life with. And I can't trust my life with those horrors, and because Bob had already sold the company, and it really wasn't, it was just kind of a generic, it was becoming a generic brand of sort, as far as design and innovation and stuff. And so I met with Chris Gack too, who had made the single steer chromoly steer tubes, and that's why I'd never made a bike without like a steer, like a solid steer tube, because I just feared for broken necks. And like we were talking earlier, and today it's ironically a 30-year anniversary that my mother died, and that just like that lit a fire under me, and I was just like, I just had so much like energy and anger and power in me. I had to let it out, and luckily I had this positive expression and this this amazing challenge that I could. It was only up to me at how challenging it was. I was completely in the driver's seat, that I could dream up the biggest challenges of my life. And so that's what I did. I needed something to really kind of get this anguish out of me. And so busy hands are happy hands, so I took on the world. I designed my own bikes. I started my own contest series. And then I just tried to push my world to as far as it could go, and so I think that was the big fire that made me just react like this.
Yeah. Let's look at the next photo. So this is where I guess kind of everything came together, as far as what, this is from March of 1992, back to Thrasherland. So the BS contest series is going now. I think this was the second one ever. You're obviously riding your Condor. You're riding in the vert class. You're still doing sprocket jockey shows. You've just got so many things that you're doing all at once. That's remarkable to me.
Yeah, that was whenever I made all the team wear American flag, really goofy American flag shorts, and the original Hoffman bike shirts that Psycho drew. God, look at that seat. That was before I realized. Luckily, I mean, another bad story from I discovered from those type of seats is I was doing a candy in air, and I landed on that seat with the seat guts, and people now have seats that don't have seat guts because Jay Maron designed that one or whatever, that's kind of standard, industry standard now. But before, you had rails, and if you land, and I landed so hard on the rails popped through the seat, and then I have what I'm talking about right over here. So I'm going to give you a demo real quick. Let me go grab it. I'll be right back. All right, so see this seat right here? The rails pop through here.
Oh wow!
See these pants right here? I was wearing these pants. They went through. They went through my pants, and then they pierced both sides of my balls, all the way through. It really happened.
I understand why you saved those now.
Yeah, and I was riding by myself, and I was like, that did not just happen. It was like the biggest nightmare you could ever think of, and I was just like, oh my God. And I was like, I pierced my balls. And then I was like, and so it's like, I think I called Steve or something, one of my friends. I was like, I just pierced my balls with my seat rails, and it's like, what? And go to the hospital. No, they're gonna put needles in them. And I was like, what am I gonna do? So I was like, oh man. So I came home, and then I shaved myself up, and then I just I had a demo with Tony Hawk in Dallas the week, and I think Thorne was there too. And so like I stereo stripped my balls, and whenever you pierce your balls, the skin kind of goes in like this, so you have to pull them out so that it kind of goes together. And then I stereo stripped them with duct tape, and then I made a duct tape
With
cast.
duct tape.
Yeah,
Duct tape.
And then I made a duct tape cast. So I made a whole cast with my balls. I was like made out of duct tape, and so then I don't ever wear underwear. I don't know why. I just never really understood what underwear was for. But then so I went to the demo, and I'm like, shit, I didn't bring any underwear, and I got duct tape balls, and I got to do this. So I was like Thorne, do you have I need a jock strap or something? And he's like, oh, I happen to have an extra spare jock strap. So Thorne, which is kind of gross, but Thorne, I borrowed Thorne's jock strap and did the demo with Tony and yeah, I guess that didn't need to be told, but it was.
I was not expecting that story today. I'd never heard that one.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Those rails right there. That's
wow.
Why we don't have rails in our seats anymore. But yeah, that's. Whew.
You suffered so the sport could progress for everyone else's benefit.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Thanks for making that seat.
Wow. Okay. Let's jump to the next photo. So this is the same contest. I think this is probably afterward. March of 1992. You were 20 years old. What do you think when you see that?
I think I've been up for like 4 days, trying to produce a contest, getting everything in order, hanging banners, and I had a broken hand because this is an injury that wouldn't go away. Like I first broke that whenever I did the first 900, like before I did the first 900. And really the trick that I was trying to learn that kept making this hand break, which is weird, is because, I was trying to learn bike varials where I was just going to throw my bike and do this, and then come in, in like a bar spin tail whip or whatever, bike varial. And so I was trying to do that. And then I came in and I missed the grip. And then my thumb just hit the ground like this. And actually it was this hand that hit. And you have this tendon that attaches right here, so your thumb stops. But the tendon is so strong that it won't break. So it breaks the bone instead. And so when you hit like this, the tendon won't break, and it ends up like pulling the bone off. And so that's what I had to do with. I would just get these casts when I hit like this. It would break my bone right there, and then I'd get these casts, and then luckily the doctors knew me, so I had these pair of handlebars I would bring to the cast place, and he'd give me the cast, and then I'd grab my handlebars and let it as it dried, and so it would mold my handlebars to my cast, and so that's why I had that cast right there.
Yeah, and you can barely see the Stars and Stripes shorts that you're wearing,
and you can see that thing in my eye. That's whenever I had to get my eye stitched up.
Oh yeah, your eyes kind of puffy and pushing down a little bit.
That was another self-sutured. But those are the worst, like self-suturing your eyes whenever I'd split right there. It was just so hard, man. That was because you can't see it, but you can't flinch, and that's really painful. Like legs and shins, it's nothing, but eyes are tough.
Yeah, I hate doing eyes. So you have kids now who are in the ballpark of the age you were in that photo.
Right.
Do you ever think about that, like kind of how you grew up and just your life versus theirs?
Yeah, I mean, but it's crazy because because Jet, he's really into punk rock, and he has a rad punk rock band, and all the music he's listening to I'm like when I first heard that same song, I was your age and it was debuted. It's like It's so crazy that you're like bringing me back to whenever I was 17 or my daughter's 19. And they live through their passions too, and so it's just it's great to two things. It's great to see that they're into a passion that doesn't demand health insurance and and life insurance, but but also it's great that it's just they have that same heart, and they're attracted to that that same raw talent, and in art that I was or am still, you know, nothing's changed.
So how do you think you'd feel if you know, if your kids were into, you know, were doing stuff like you were doing, just, you know, just pounding yourself like that and just taking so much abuse and all the injuries? Would you be cool with it, do you think? Or do you think you'd try to steer them into something?
Like passion rules in my house, so it's kind of whatever you want, but you have to. But they know that you have to earn it. And Jet, he rides mini ramps, and but he's more into skating, and he does a lot of street skating and stuff, and he has like some wedges and stuff that he has in the warehouse that right now, you know, everybody wanted a bike this last month, so everybody sold out of bikes. But so I got a lot of like room in there for him to ride, but yeah, like, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, definitely, it definitely is harder because it almost hurts more watching. Yeah, it definitely hurts more watching the people you love get hurt than it is for watching yourself get hurt. But
yeah,
but but you know, I never discourage, you know, living your passion and doing whatever you want. So yeah.
Cool. Let's jump to the next, and I'd say last but not least, Big Air.
Yeah, that's kind of cool that all those photos were kind of like the construction, and like I saw a little bit of like the twinkle that made this actual last photo reality.
Yep.
Kind of cool how that worked out. Did you plan that?
They're actually just chronological.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's just how it worked out. So this was from September 1993. You had a BS comp at your skate park, and you put on a demo for everybody. So people had seen photos of it at this point, but I think this was the first time pretty much anyone outside of your circle, I think, would have seen it in person.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, and I remember I crashed like a couple months before, and I tore my rotator cuff, and I was scheduled for surgery 2 weeks before this contest. But I was like, man, if I don't, so I end up postponing my surgery to do this show, and that's why I think I remember I really realized every time I've crashed on this big ramp, it's because I've come down with my weight, too much weight on this shoulder, and this shoulder gives out, and because now it's like partially paralyzed. But like, because I always crash onto that side, even from the last time I got to ride Danny's ramp. You know, I came down, I didn't expect it, this arm gave out, smashed. Like whenever I did the Big Air ramp at the 24-foot ramp that I built in 2000, and that one, I came down and this arm gave out, and I think it was this photo or this air or the air after this, I came down and like I came a little bit too much weight on this shoulder, and without a rotator cuff, you know, you just don't have any muscles to hold you up, and so I ended up spinning out, and well, maybe that was probably before, because you can see the mark on the ramp. Like, yeah, so that was the air before this. I spun out and crashed. But
no, I think when you wrecked on that demo, that was it. I think you were done for the day.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think my shoulder. I was like, yeah, my shoulder's trash. I can't ride anymore.
Yeah, that was scary. I mean, I've seen people do a lot of gnarly stuff, but there was something about this. I think it's obviously the air that you're getting, but even just the noise from the motorcycle and seeing you go down the plywood ramp. That was scary.
I've painted this a couple times for people that when I was doing a bunch of commissions, I think John Rucos he had, which one did he I think, let me think here. He wanted me, well, yeah, I painted this for him, and he wanted me to paint the cover of my book because he's on the cover, I guess. I didn't realize that. But this was, I mean, it was fun to paint, but it was like having to paint people. It's like you have to paint them with like a toothpick, you know, almost.
Oh, yeah.
All that. And then Dennis, that's Dennis's head down at the very bottom, just looking up. He was just getting up on the ramp. And then the boy, who else is up there? Yeah.
I think Rob Siggety.
Yeah, Rob City, Canadian. Yeah, that's a good memory, man. That was fun. And I love, like, because I would air that ramp, but I would just air it, like, whenever you'd hit that ramp really fast and get into that, like, get into the 20s, you would, like, the ramp would, like, you don't just see the coping. Now you can see in front of the ramp and behind the ramp. And so when you look behind the ramp, you're up here and you're like, whoa, I am really high. Like, it gives you this whole different, like, butterfly in your stomach. You're like, oh my gosh. But then whenever people were on the deck, it gave me another perspective, because I just never had people on the deck. And so I went up and just seeing all these people, I was like, wow, this is so rad, because it just was it was a different show for me. You know, it was like it was a show for everybody else, but they gave me a new show too, to, like, from my perspective, my view.
That's cool. So this was 1993. I think you got married in 1993, and you also set up the shop to make bikes in-house in Oklahoma City that year. Is that right?
Yeah, the 93, because I've been married 27 years. Like, yeah, so, and we were together, I guess, we lived together for a few years before that. So we've probably been together for 30 years too. So, like, yeah, yeah, and setting up, doing all the in-house, creating that factory and stuff, man. That was waking up at 6 a.m, going to bed at like midnight for like.
How many people do you think you had working there when it was
like that? That's what made, that's because I mean, it was rad, and it was a great experience, and it was like, I love to kind of learn how to do everything from start to finish, but then I woke up and I had like 30 people or so working for me, and I'm like, and I was a manager, and I'm like, how did I become a manager? You know, it's like I've worked my whole life to not become a manager, and now I can barely ride because I'm having to, like, manage all these things and tell everybody what to do and how to. I was like, I can't. I got to figure out another way, man. I can't be a manager. You know?
Yeah. So I guess just to kind of wrap up, you know, just looking at this whole 1991 to 93 period, it just blows me away. You know, just the level that you were riding at, and then all the other stuff you did on top of it. You know, I think your riding achievements are pretty widely recognized and understood. But I think all the other stuff, I think people know about it, but maybe they don't see the scale of it, and especially how young you were at the time and how many things you were doing all at once. It's just really remarkable that you were able to pull all that off, and it's cool.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it's like I was raised to, like, if you're gonna complain about, like, don't complain about something unless you're willing to stand up and fix it, make it right. Yeah. You know, and everybody was saying the sport was dying, and everybody was saying no one rode, and it really wasn't true. It was like, yeah, there wasn't much money to be made in it, but there wasn't any money to be made in it. But everybody just needed some place to celebrate what they did, and so that's all I did. Is I said, hey, I'm gonna make 5 or 6 times a year, we're all going to get together and celebrate what we do and what we love and what we committed our life to. And so it was pretty amazing, and it got me through some really tough times in my life too. So I mean, I really am, I'm the luckiest dude, I think, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got to work hard for it. You know, it's like I always say, if you want to have the most fun, you got to work super hard. You know, it's not, fun isn't easy. You know, it's like, it takes a lot of work to have a lot of fun. And so we worked really hard and had a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, that's a good thing to close on.
Right. Awesome. Cool, man.
Cool.
Thanks, Brad, man. Super stoked to see you again. Thanks
Likewise.
For remembering all these memories and bringing them back and sharing it with the rest of the world through all your successes. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Matt.
Right on. Peace.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.